What if I told you the word superfood isn't a health claim, it's a marketing term? There is no legal definition, no regulatory body that certifies it, no standard it has to meet. Any company, for any product, can print it on a label tomorrow, and there is nothing stopping them. And here's what makes that dangerous. The foods that get that label the hardest, the ones you see in every wellness post and every clean eating article, are often the ones people consume in the largest quantities and with the least caution. Because the label told them it was safe. The label told them more was better. Today I'm going through 15 of them. 15 foods that carry the Superfood badge and are actively causing problems for the people eating them most faithfully. Stay with me for number 9, because number 9 involves a compound that blocks one of the most important minerals your body needs, and the more of it you eat, the worse the problem gets. It's in a food that might be in your refrigerator right now, labeled organic. And number 1 is the one I had the hardest time putting on this list, because I ate it every single day for 3 years thinking I was doing something right. This channel covers what the natural living and gardening world tends to skip, the dangers hiding inside the things we've been told to trust. If you've ever stood in a grocery store holding something that's supposed to be good for you and felt a quiet unease you couldn't explain, this is the place that names that feeling and gives it facts. We're not here to make you afraid. We're here to make you informed. Those are very different things. If this is your first time here, subscribe now before we get into it. This community shares things that don't make it into the mainstream wellness conversation, and what's coming in this list is a good example of exactly that. Number 15, agave nectar. The pitch is that agave is a natural sweetener with a low glycemic index, which technically means it doesn't spike your blood sugar as fast as table sugar. What most people don't know is why. Agave is low glycemic because it's almost entirely fructose, somewhere between 70 and 90% depending on the brand. That's higher than high fructose corn syrup. Your body processes fructose almost exclusively in the liver. Table sugar splits between your liver and other tissues. Agave doesn't. All of it goes directly to the liver, and in excess, research suggests this pathway is associated with elevated triglycerides, non-alcoholic fatty liver stress, and metabolic disruption that never shows up as a blood sugar spike, which is exactly why the glycemic index claim is technically true and functionally misleading. The swap is simple: raw honey used in smaller amounts, or nothing at all. Number 14, store-bought acai bowls. Acai the berry is fine. Acai the bowl you're buying pre-made or ordering at a cafe is a different thing entirely. Most commercial acai bowls contain 60 to 80 grams of sugar per serving, more than 2 cans of soda. The acai is real. It's just sitting under granola, honey, sweetened nut butter, and a layer of fruit that adds fructose on top of fructose. The base ingredient is doing nothing wrong. What surrounds it turns a 2-tablespoon serving of frozen acai pulp into a dessert that your body processes exactly the same way it processes dessert. If you're making acai at home with unsweetened pulp and controlling what goes on top, you're fine. If you're buying it ready-made because the label says antioxidant-rich superfood, read the sugar line before you assume. Number 13, goji berries. Goji berries are genuinely high in certain antioxidants, zeaxanthin specifically, which has real research behind it for eye health. Nobody's disputing that. The problem is twofold. First, most people aren't eating fresh goji berries. They're eating dried, imported goji berries that have been sitting in supply chains for months, and the oxidative degradation of dried fruits is significant. Second, and this is the one that matters more, goji berries contain compounds that interact with warfarin, the blood thinner. They also interact with blood pressure medications and diabetes drugs. The interaction isn't mild. Documented cases in clinical literature show significantly elevated anticoagulant effects in patients who added goji berries to their diet without telling their doctor. If you're on any medication, this one deserves a direct conversation with your physician before it goes into your daily smoothie. Number 12, coconut oil. Coconut oil had a remarkable decade. Everyone was cooking with it, putting it in their coffee, using it as a moisturizer and a mouthwash and a hair treatment all at once. The claim was that its saturated fat was different, medium-chain triglycerides that the body metabolizes differently than animal fat. That part is true. MCTs are metabolized differently. The problem is that coconut oil is only about 15% MCT in the forms that actually behave the way the research describes. The other 85% is primarily lauric acid, which the body largely treats as a long-chain saturated fat, which is the kind associated with elevated LDL cholesterol. The American Heart Association put out a formal advisory specifically on coconut oil in 2017. It's not a poison, but it is a saturated fat being marketed as a health food, and the distinction matters if you're consuming it daily in significant quantities. Number 11, wheatgrass and barleygrass shots. The superfood claim here is chlorophyll, enzymes, and a dense hit of micronutrients. The reality is that wheatgrass and barley grass are grasses, meaning the cell walls are made of cellulose, which the human body cannot break down. We don't have the enzyme for it. Cows do. Goats do. We don't. What this means practically is that the nutrient content largely passes through without absorption unless the grass has been cold pressed and processed in a very specific way that breaks the cell walls mechanically. Most shots and powders on the market haven't been processed this way. There's also a contamination issue worth naming. Grass grown in certain conditions is a documented vector for mold and bacteria, particularly E. coli, and people with compromised immune systems have had documented adverse reactions to unpasteurized wheatgrass products. The chlorophyll in dark leafy greens like spinach and parsley, which your body can actually access, is the same compound. You don't need to pay $12 a shot for it. Number 10. Hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are genuinely nutritious. Good fat profile, complete protein, magnesium. This isn't a case of the food being bad. This is a case of the food being overconsumed without understanding what it's doing. Hemp seeds are high in polyunsaturated fats, specifically omega-6, and the modern Western diet is already dramatically omega-6 heavy relative to omega-3. The ideal ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is somewhere around 4:1. Most Americans are at 15:1 or higher. Adding hemp seeds, which run at roughly a 3:1 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, to a diet that's already imbalanced in that direction, continues pushing the ratio in the wrong direction. Omega-6 in excess is associated in research with inflammatory pathway activation. A food can have a good nutritional profile and still make your specific situation worse. That's what this list is really about. We're halfway through, and the next several on this list are the ones I think will surprise you the most, because they're the ones with the strongest health reputations. That's what makes them the most complicated. Stay with me. And if you're watching this with someone who eats a lot of these foods, share this with them. That's what this community does. We pass the information on. Number 9. Raw spinach and kale consumed in large daily quantities. This is the one I mentioned in the hook, and I want to be precise here because this is a nuanced item, and I'm not going to oversimplify it. Spinach and kale both contain oxalic acid, oxalates, which bind to calcium, magnesium, and iron in your digestive tract and prevent absorption. In a normal diet with varied foods, this isn't a significant problem. The issue is the green smoothie culture that puts 3 to 4 packed cups of raw spinach or kale into a daily drink and calls it medicine. At that volume, the oxalate load becomes meaningful. Research suggests that chronically high oxalate intake is associated with kidney stone formation, specifically calcium oxalate stones, which are the most common type. There are also documented cases of something called oxalate nephropathy, kidney damage from sustained high oxalate consumption, in people drinking large volume green juices daily. The fix is simple. Cooking spinach and kale significantly reduces the oxalate content. Lightly steaming or sautéing breaks down a large portion of it. Rotating your greens, using romaine, arugula, bok choy, Swiss chard, means you're not concentrating any single compound. The warning was right there in the plant. We just stopped reading it. Number 8. Protein bars. The label says high protein, low sugar, natural ingredients, clean energy. The ingredient list says sugar alcohols, carrageenan, highly processed soy protein isolate, and synthetic vitamins added back in because the processing stripped the originals out. Carrageenan specifically is worth naming. It's a thickening agent derived from red seaweed, used widely in protein bars, dairy alternatives, and infant formula. Animal studies have linked it to intestinal inflammation and disruption of gut lining integrity. The research in humans is less conclusive, but the European Union has already moved to restrict its use in infant formula based on precautionary evidence. The US has not. The sugar alcohol problem compounds this. Sorbitol and maltitol, common in low sugar bars, are not absorbed by the small intestine and are fermented by gut bacteria instead. The result is gas, bloating, and in larger amounts, a laxative effect. The bar, marketed as the clean alternative to candy, is doing things to your gut that the candy doesn't do. Whole food protein sources, eggs, lentils, Greek yogurt without additives, don't require an ingredient list this long. Number 7. Almond milk, most commercial varieties. Almonds are nutritious. What comes out of a commercial almond milk carton is mostly water, with 2% almonds by volume, according to multiple industry analyses. The protein has been diluted to near zero, 1 gram per cup, compared to 8 in dairy milk or 7 in soy milk. The calcium is added synthetically, and in a form that some research suggests is less bioavailable than calcium from whole food sources. And nearly every commercial brand uses carrageenan or another additive to achieve the texture people expect from something called milk. What you're paying for is the idea of almonds. The actual almonds are gone by the time it reaches the shelf. If you're using it for flavor or for a dairy-free option, that's a reasonable choice made with full information. If you're using it as a nutritional substitute for milk, the numbers don't support it. Number 6, turmeric supplements in high doses. Turmeric is one of the most extensively studied anti-inflammatory plants in traditional and modern medicine. Curcumin, its active compound, has a legitimate and growing body of research behind it. This is not a case of the plant being fraudulent. This is a case of the supplement dose being something the plant was never intended to deliver. Traditional use of turmeric was culinary, a gram or two in food, paired with black pepper, consumed with fat to aid absorption. Modern supplements deliver 500 to 2,000 milligrams of isolated curcumin extract per dose, often multiple times a day. At those levels, research suggests potential interference with iron absorption, possible liver stress in sensitive individuals, and significant interaction with blood-thinning medications, including warfarin and aspirin. The NIH's liver tox database has documented cases of turmeric supplement-induced liver injury, cases requiring hospitalization, from a plant that has been used safely in food for thousands of years, because food and pharmaceutical doses are not the same thing. Use turmeric in cooking. Be cautious with extracts at supplement doses, especially if you're on any medication. Number 5, green tea extract supplements. Green tea itself, brewed as a cup of tea, is safe for most people and has genuine research supporting its antioxidant activity. The extract is a different matter. Green tea extract is concentrated epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG, at levels you cannot reach by drinking tea. And at those concentrations, the same NIH database that tracks supplement-related liver injury has green tea extract among the most frequently reported herbal causes of serious liver damage. The FDA issued a safety review. The European Food Safety Authority put a warning on green tea extracts above 800 milligrams of EGCG daily. Cases of acute liver failure in previously healthy people have been documented and published. This is a supplement that is aggressively marketed to people trying to lose weight and boost metabolism, often the youngest, healthiest seeming members of any wellness community. And it is doing quiet, cumulative damage to their livers that looks like nothing until it looks like an emergency. Drink the tea, skip the extract. Number 4, dried fruit marketed as a health snack. Dried fruit is fruit with the water removed. What that means practically, the sugar content per gram is concentrated, the fiber is still present, but no longer doing the work of slowing glucose absorption the way it does in whole fruit. And in most commercial dried fruit, additional sugar has been added on top of what was already there. A single cup of raisins contains about 100 grams of sugar. The same volume of fresh grapes has about 15. That's not a small difference. That's a blood sugar event wrapped in a package that says natural and no added preservatives, while containing sulfur dioxide, the most common preservative in the category, which is associated with asthmatic reactions in sensitive individuals and is required to be declared on the label in most countries. Dried fruit has a place. As an occasional ingredient in small amounts, it's fine. As a daily snack eaten by the handful because it came from fruit, it's doing something different in your body than fruit does. Number 3, farmed salmon labeled omega-3 rich. Wild-caught salmon is one of the most nutritionally complete animal proteins available. Farmed salmon is a different product wearing the same name. Farmed salmon are fed a diet of fish meal, soy, and increasingly synthetic astaxanthin, the compound that turns salmon flesh pink. In wild salmon, astaxanthin comes from krill and shrimp. In farmed salmon, it comes from a synthetic source called canthaxanthin in many operations, and the farmers literally choose the shade of pink they want from a color chart. The omega-3 content in farmed salmon varies significantly depending on what the fish were fed. Studies comparing wild and farmed have found that farmed salmon can be higher in total fat, including omega-6, and may carry higher concentrations of PCBs and other persistent organic pollutants that accumulate in fatty tissue. The label says, rich in omega-3. It doesn't tell you the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. It doesn't tell you what the fish ate. It doesn't tell you about the synthetic pigmentation. And it calls itself the same thing as a wild fish that has none of those issues. Ask the question at your fish counter. The answer matters. Number 2, kombucha, certain forms and populations. Kombucha has genuine fermentation benefits for many people. The SCOBY produces organic acids, B vitamins, and a small amount of probiotic activity. For most healthy adults drinking it occasionally, it's fine. Here's what doesn't make it onto the wellness blog. Commercial kombucha is a live fermented product that continues producing alcohol and carbonation in the bottle. Most commercial brands contain 0.5% alcohol alcohol or below, classified as non-alcoholic. But independent testing has found that some brands, especially small batch varieties that have been sitting on warm shelves, can reach 2 to 3% alcohol, enough to matter for someone who abstains for religious, medical, or recovery reasons and has no idea. Beyond alcohol, the acidic pH of kombucha, typically 2.5 to 3.5, is comparable to vinegar and has been documented to contribute to dental enamel erosion with regular daily consumption. There are also documented cases of contamination in home-brewed batches leading to serious illness. And for immunocompromised individuals, people on chemotherapy, people with HIV, people on long-term steroids, live fermented products carry a real infection risk that the good-for-your-gut marketing does not address. Know what you're consuming. For most people, in reasonable amounts, kombucha is probably fine. For some specific populations, it's the opposite of what it claims to be. Number 1. Daily green juice cleanses. I told you this one was the hardest for me to put on this list. I drank green juice every morning for 3 years. I genuinely believed it was the best thing I was doing for myself. Here's what I didn't know. When you juice vegetables, you remove the fiber. And the fiber is not a bonus feature. It is the mechanism by which the nutrients in those vegetables are absorbed slowly and safely. Without it, you're delivering a concentrated load of plant compounds, sugars, and in some cases, compounds like oxalates and goitrogens, directly to your digestive system with nothing to slow the absorption. Goitrogens are compounds found in cruciferous vegetables, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, that can interfere with thyroid hormone synthesis when consumed raw in large quantities. Cooking breaks them down significantly. Juicing concentrates them and bypasses every protective mechanism your gut normally uses. For people with subclinical or undiagnosed thyroid issues, which are dramatically underdiagnosed in women particularly, a daily raw cruciferous juice habit may be quietly suppressing thyroid function, while the person wonders why they feel tired, why their weight won't move, why they feel off in ways they can't name. The green juice didn't heal me. When I stopped and switched to whole-cooked vegetables, I felt better in 2 weeks in ways I hadn't felt in 3 years. That's not a clinical study, it's one person's experience. But it's honest, and I'm putting it in front of you because nobody told me, and someone should have. I promised you a bonus at the start, and this one is short, and I want you to remember it. The word superfood has never appeared in a single piece of nutritional legislation or dietary guideline published by the FDA, the USDA, the WHO, or any national health authority in the world. Not once. It was coined by a marketer. It is maintained by marketers. And the foods that carry it most aggressively are often the ones with the largest advertising budgets, not the largest bodies of safety evidence. The most evidence-backed foods in the world, whole vegetables, legumes, olive oil, fermented dairy, eggs, fish, herbs used in cooking, almost never call themselves superfoods. They don't need to. When a label tells you something is super, ask who told the label. I want to hear from you. Which one of these surprised you the most? Leave it in the comments, because what surprises one person in this community is often exactly what another person needs to read today. And if any of these are part of your daily routine, don't panic. Information isn't the same as an emergency. You now know something you didn't know an hour ago, and that's worth something. If you're not subscribed yet, this is the channel for exactly this kind of conversation. We don't do surface-level wellness content here. We go into the things that actually matter, and we're honest about what we find, even when it's uncomfortable. More is coming. Stay close.